Alright, so just a quick preface to this video. This is a 2012 Fender Pawn Shop Supersonic guitar. This is going home to an amazing customer, and some of the work I did initially was to install a Callahan tremolo system, 2 7/32 saddle and mounting spacing, which is a perfect match for the tremolo that was on here. And originally it had a white backplate and pickguard, which aged a bit. And this customer wanted me to make a white pearl pickguard and backplate, which came out awesome. These really make the guitar really pop. It's just beautiful now. Absolutely love it. So that was the main work I did before getting into the setup and fretwork, which is what this video is about. So I shot all of this sequentially, and it is totally unedited. So I just shot everything sequentially and then just clicked and dragged the video clips into my video editing software. And it's just one after the other, streamlined process. It was all me at the workbench from beginning to end. And I'm going to take you through my process, my proprietary process for doing setups and fretwork. This is neck relief, 12th fret action while a capo is on the 1st fret. Remove the capo, set the 1st fret action. I standardize everything in a way that I haven't seen anybody else do. And the setup standards that I use dovetail perfectly into the understring fret leveling process that I use. And you're going to see some cool proprietary techniques, such as my partial compound radiusing technique. That's a big one. And just the general process I use, that again is all streamlined. So in my mind, setups and understring leveling, setups and fretwork, it all goes along the same thing. It's like when I'm locked into a guitar, it's like, okay, we're going to get it set up to a very specific standard, specific thousandths of an inch, and then we are primed from that stage to level the frets under string tension and get everything dialed in and verify it by actually picking it up and playing it in between leveling the frets and profiling the frets. There is a difference, to make sure that everything's working as well as we can get it at the specs that we want to have it working at. So, alright, without further ado, it's going to be like you're here in the shop with me, watching me work. So I hope you enjoyed this video. And keep in mind, again, it is unedited, so it is going to be very long. There's going to be a lot of rambling about philosophical and personal stuff when I get to crowning and polishing the frets, because that's what happens in real life. Got to do the same thing 21, 22 times in a row. And anyway, so this is very real, very raw, and hopefully will give you an idea of what it's like to just be at a workbench doing this professionally. And one last word, this one was particularly easy as far as the fretwork goes. There was no real glitches with this. So this was pretty straightforward. You know, sometimes it can get a lot more involved in this, or even just take way more time where you got to take off way more fret material. So fortunately this one was pretty straightforward. So, alright, on to the video. Okay, so full setup and understring leveling. Let's just get right into it. So first, I've got my understring leveling beam. I'm just going to prep this. I had an old strip of sandpaper on there. I'm going to take some mineral spirits on a paper towel. I keep these in a glass bottle with a polyseal lid on it, or a polycone cap. I've seen them called both. Get some medicine bottles like this with the polyseal caps. They're amazing for any liquid you got to store. So anyway, I go over with a paper towel and some mineral spirits to clean off any residue from the Stick It Gold sandpaper. That's the brand I use. It is far and away the best I have found for adhesive-backed sandpaper. So I'm going to clean off this is a Rectify Master Light. This is my favorite understring leveling tool. You can reach out to Davide Bisoli at rectifymaster.com. Again, this is my understring leveling tool of choice, but you can also get the 18-inch StewMac fret bar. Actually, I would recommend the whole set. There's an 8-inch, a 4-inch, and an 18-inch. But I do like the Rectify Master Light better overall. So anyway, now I get this cleaned off so our adhesive residue doesn't throw off the level of our new sandpaper. So I'm going to take this over to a cutting mat that I have on a bench over here, and I'm going to cut a new strip using an X-Acto knife. So obviously you can't see this because of the camera position. I'm going to put this down. And I know this seems kind of boring right now. Why is he showing us this? Just get to doing the work. I know, but this is part of it. This is the real world. Like, you know, you got to prep your tools and everything. So I'm putting the RM light down on this 320 grit 3M Stick It Gold sandpaper. Just dropped a spoon I had on the bench for some reason. Alright, so I put the blade up against the edge of the tool. It's like you're basically cutting out the, a little excess of sandpaper here. That'll come right off. And now we've got our RM light loaded with a brand new piece of 320 Stick It Gold sandpaper. So that's step one. Trying to get all my ducks in a row here. Alright, so we've got our beam prepped. Now the fun part. Alright, so now that that's all prepped, first thing I'm going to do, I mean, if you really want to get fancy with this, let's go all the way. I got a Peterson strobe tuner here. Oh, so I was actually tuned to E flat. So I'm just going to tune up. Here's the first step, is tuning the guitar up. And the reason I'm tuning up is because the first thing we're going to do is adjust the neck relief. And the neck relief adjustment, I always set the neck straight, and it's imperative that you have, rather I should say, get the neck straight under tension. So obviously it's imperative that you have the string tension set correctly, which means tuned to pitch. And the most accurate way to do that is with a strobe tuner, but you don't have to go. I usually just use that for setting the intonation extremely precisely. You're going to have to deal with the air conditioning. It might muffle things a little bit. So anyway, alright, we've got it tuned up. Now the first thing I'm going to do is get my digital neck relief gauge. Alright, this is from G-Tech Guitars on eBay. And because I'm going to level the frets with the guitar on its back, yes, gravity is going to affect your relief measurement in most cases, even if it's only by 1,000th. But because I'm going to be leveling with the guitar on its back, I'm going to take the relief measurement with the guitar on its back, because I want the plane of the fret tops as straight as I can possibly get it, which means zero relief, in the same position that I'm going to be leveling in. Now, I'm getting about 6/1000ths of relief using the gauge here. And just as a quick side note, if I can find my beam, like this is a StewMac leveling beam, it is very important. I actually use a granite surface plate for this. You can see I'm holding this digital gauge along the beam here. You know, these are leveling beams, so I will hold this up here and make sure that the digital gauge is zeroed out on a flat surface. That's very important. It does have a zero memory, so you only got to do that once in a while. I just like to make sure it's in spec, so I'll actually take this over to the granite surface plate and zero it out periodically. I don't know, every couple of months or something. But anyway, so with this digital gauge, and I forget sometimes that I'm very accustomed to using these, I'm getting 6/1000ths of relief, so I want to tighten that truss rod up to get it to 0. But if you do not have a digital gauge, which I would strongly recommend, or digital neck relief gauge actually, you can get a digital action gauge. And one of the tricks I use, which I will show you right now, everybody should have one of these. This is also G-Tech Guitars on eBay. That digital action gauge. Another invention by Davide Bisoli that he did not get any credit for, so anyway. Here's a trick you can use instead of a digital neck relief gauge. Take a popsicle stick or a piece of a popsicle stick, and we want to check, let's say the D or the G string, because that's close to the middle of the neck. So let's say I want to do the G string. So I will put the popsicle stick under E, A, and D, over G, and then under B and E. And what that's going to do is act as a kind of capo, because that popsicle stick is going to press that string down at the last fret completely, and then combined with a capo at the first fret, now you have the string depressed at both ends. First and last fret, or if you want to get fancy, you can move it up to wherever the neck joins the body, which in this case, it would be like the 17th fret. Some people say you should hold it down there instead of the last fret. But anyway, the point is, hold it down at the first and that last fret, and now you can use the string as a straight edge. So, for those of you who do not have a digital gauge at all, you can get a set of feeler gauges. I recommend one that goes to below 1/1000th. This one goes to 0.0008, which is 8/10,000ths of an inch. So that is less than, or it's 2/10,000ths shy of 1/1000th of an inch. So that'll be pretty close to straight. Now what I'm doing here is I slip it under the 7th fret. So I am looking at the distance between the top of the fret and the bottom of, in this case, the G string at the 7th fret. I always take relief measurements at the 7th fret on guitars, and generally on the 8th fret on bass. And I can see, I already know with the digital gauge that we're at 6/1000ths of relief, and you'll be able to see that using a feeler gauge, and actually see and feel it. So I got 6/1000ths here. So feeler gauges are an option if you do not have a digital gauge. If you do have a digital gauge, like this digital action gauge, now you can measure. Now here's what's interesting, right? I'm getting 4/1000ths because the guitar is on its back, and the probe, as it falls out of the digital gauge, is going to depress the string a little bit. Now I'm getting 6/1000ths with the guitar in the playing position. Actually, no, I'm not. I'm getting 4.5/1000ths. No, I am getting 6/1000ths. Okay. We're doing it all in one take, guys. But yeah, you do want to be aware that these gauges can be a little finicky. Right, the digital gauges can be a little finicky, so that actually is good that happened. Because if you're not aware that the digital gauges are extremely sensitive to how you're holding them, you're going to get thrown off. So you could be going in here with your digital neck relief gauge, take a measurement, oh, it's 6/1000ths. You go measure it again without touching anything. You're like, oh, wait a minute, it's 2/1000ths. Oh, wait a minute. Like, you got to have a feel for when these are locked in to where they are supposed to be. That's why I was just like, oh, wait a minute, no, we're at 4, wait, no, we're at 6. So here, you know, this is why I like the digital neck relief gauge the best, because this is getting I'm getting a little bit of a discrepancy here. There's like 4.5/1000ths when I'm getting it really locked in to where it feels correct, which is actually about the same as when it's on its back. So gravity can come into play. Right now it's 3.5/1000ths, 4/1000ths. Anyway, the reason I'm leaving this in here, because it would be very easy for me to just edit all this out and make it look nice. But you see, I'm at 11 minutes and 19 seconds in, and all I've done is load up the tool and try to explain to you how to make sure that the neck is straight. So this is going to be a major sticking point for a lot of people. But that's why it's important to explain this and to see it in real time. So if you've only got feeler gauges, capo here, popsicle stick there, I would recommend the D or the G string to be close to the middle of the neck. Check under the 7th fret, and then what you're going to do, you always want to have a little more relief than you need, by the way, because what you cannot check for with the feeler gauge, or the digital gauge for that matter, with this capo and popsicle stick method, is a back bow. If you're in a back bow, the string's just going to be flat against the 7th fret, and whether you are in 1/1000th of back bow or 10/1000ths of back bow, it's just going to be flat against the fret. So the advantage with the digital neck relief gauge is this will actually show you back bow. So if you are in 2/1000ths of back bow, this will show up as -2/1000ths. So I strongly recommend getting one of these. Hopefully you can see that as soon as I got that 6/1000ths measurement with this gauge that I'm very comfortable using, I could have just gotten out my 1/8 inch Allen wrench, turned the adjuster clockwise to tighten the rod, set it to 0, and we would have been well along our way, you know, setting this up and getting into the fretwork, you know, probably more than 5 or 6 minutes ago. And that's why I strongly recommend these, but you got to be comfortable using it. You have to be able to feel when it locks in. I'm just going to hold this in the playing position so you can see it a little better. But like the way that I hold this tool, see, I keep one hand near the gauge here with my index finger like almost right against that gauge, and then my other hand up here. So I will show you. I hold it kind of like this. You know, so when I'm taking measurements, that is the grip that I'm using. So let me get a light over here. Sorry guys, I know this video is going to be painfully long, but you're getting a real world view into why I edit my videos so much. So if you want to get into guitar work, you got to be ready to accept that they can be complicated, they can be difficult, and there's going to be a big learning curve. And it looks nice and pretty and elegant when I do an edited video and I just show you step by step. Oh, measure here. God damn it. Oh. Let's just gouge my leg on the bench there. Alright. One take. Alright, can we see this any better? There we go. Alright, that was worth it. So, hand here, hand there. And that other thing just fell off. Alright, so this is how I hold it, right? And you gotta lock in. I know this has got to be like pulling teeth for you guys. You're like, oh, come on, get to it. Come on, get to the work. You're killing me here. Well, how do you think you're going to feel, right? If you are not comfortable doing this process, which I assume is why you're watching this video, how are you going to feel when you get your brand new digital gauge that you put a lot of your hard-earned money into and you don't know how to use it? It's going to be a lot more frustrating than this 15 minutes we're into this video so far. So I'm going to lock in here, right? We're at 6/1000ths. Now see, I'm getting a consistent 6/1000ths because I'm very used to using this tool. Now let's see what it is in the playing position. I'm also at 6. Okay, so you're not always, 6.5, 7. Just jumped up to 7 as I kind of locked in here. So this is typical, like what you're going to see generally because of the lack of gravity pushing down on the strings. When you get into the playing position, your measurements are going to be a little bit higher. Like action's going to be, 12th fret action's going to be a little higher. Your relief is going to be a little higher. Usually relief I see by about 1/1000th of an inch increase. Could be more, could be less, depending on the stability of the neck. But anyway, I want to drive this home because I've had one comment and I've done a video consultation with someone where they got this exact tool that I love so much and I'm very comfortable with. But they'll go to measure and they get very frustrated. It'll be like, okay, I'm getting negative 2 thousandths. I'm like, okay, so you're in a back bow. Why don't you back off on the rod? It's like, okay, now I'm at 10 thousandths. Okay. But then they check again without touching the truss rod at all. And it's like, oh, wait a minute, I'm at negative 4 thousandths. It's like, well, obviously that's not possible. So, guys, I'm going over this because getting the neck straight is so important. You want to get this locked in. You want to be getting as close to a zeroed out measurement here as you possibly can. That is the foundation that I work from for the way that I approach setups and fretwork. So get it right. And let's review. Digital gauge is the easiest. Make sure it's zeroed out on a flat surface like a granite surface plate or a like StuMac leveling beam, whatever. And make sure that you're holding it correctly. When you take the measurements, you should be getting the same measure. You should be able to measure the relief 10 times in a row, 20 times in a row, and get exactly the same thing. Like 6 thousandths. It's locked in at 6 thousandths. Now, if I tip it a little this way, I'm getting 4 thousandths. If I tip it this way a little bit, 4 thousandths, negative 10 thousandths. Like, you have to be so on top of this and be comfortable using this tool and know how to use it. So you should be getting the same measurement every time. Now, if that's not working, or you don't have one of those tools, I showed you the Capo popsicle stick, and then you can use feeler gauges, in which case, let's say 0.0008, so 8 10,000ths of an inch, that's 2 10,000ths shy of 1 thousandth. Slip it under the 7th fret, and you will turn that adjuster clockwise to tighten the truss rod until it goes from this position, like this, to straight. And you want to verify that with the feeler gauges. You know, in this case, you're going to be below 1 thousandth, which is close enough. You could just maybe tweak it a tiny bit beyond that. And then you have the option of using the digital action gauge. So, I know this seems insane, right? You guys, again, you want me to get to doing the actual work. But I am telling you, if you are not comfortable getting a neck straight and you don't know how to do it, you are going to suffer an inordinate amount, because that is the foundation of everything. Now I'm going to show you one other thing. Right? Well, actually, no, because you can use this string as a straight edge, so I would just do that. But I was going to say you can get a straight edge, a full-length straight edge, and put it over the fret tops, and then do the same thing with the feeler gauge. Right? But again, capoing here and then popsicle stick here, you're going to save yourself a bunch of money on straight edges by using the string as a straight edge. So, part of the reason, again, I'm hammering this is because I was on a call the other day. I was doing a consultation with someone, getting them, you know, dialed in to do fretwork and setups the way I do them. And he was getting very different measurements. You know, he saw my video, got one of these tools, and he was not able to get consistent measurements with it. So it's like, again, neck relief at 0, super critical, super extremely critical. You have to do it if you're doing it the way I do setups, which to me is the best and the most effective way. Works every time. You get the lowest possible action. It streamlines everything. So, trust me guys, I am tempted. I'm at 20 minutes, and it seems like I've done basically nothing. But I'm doing this for you. I could have just buzzed right along from the beginning. Oh, check here. Let's move on. But I'm doing this for you. So you're not going to jump into this after buying one of these tools and think, oh, what did I do? I spent all this money, and now you're panicking, and you're not getting consistent measurements, and you don't know what you're doing. Right? So I am here to tell you, it's normal for there to be a learning curve. I hold the tool like this. So this hand here, I just keep my index finger. I don't know if that helps. To me, I think it does. It's the way you're holding this tool. I've heard a lot of people complain that they're not getting consistent measurements. And I'm like, nope, I'm getting 6 thousandths every single time. And you see how I'm holding it. Let me just transplant my hand here. It's just like this. So actually you can see my thumb is on top here. Right, so I'm taking that measurement, I'm putting it down like this, and I can just feel, it'll rock back and forth I can feel when it just locks in to that centered position. So you do have options. feeler gauges, straight edges, you know, the capo and popsicle stick trick. You have to get this as close to 0 at the 7th fret as you possibly can. That is the foundation for my method. So now with that out of the way, we're at 21 minutes and 30 seconds, right? Like 6/1000ths of relief, right? Now I want to tighten the truss rod to 0. So in this case, this is a bullet adjuster. This uses an 1/8 inch Allen adjuster. I like the Wera Hex Plus. They don't work on everything. They're a little thicker than normal adjusters. They will not fit in every adjuster. They'll fit in most of them. You know, usually they get hung up in the channel is what, you know, the problem is if they don't fit. But the Wera Hex Plus are my favorite wrenches. I think these are less prone to stripping. So you can see here, I'm going to use my other hand to tighten so you can see my hand. I'm turning this clockwise. To tighten an adjuster, when you're tightening the adjuster or turning it clockwise, you're taking the neck from a bow into the straight position. If you turn it counterclockwise, you're loosening it into relief. Straight, relief, straight, relief, or you could think of it straight, forward bow, straight, forward bow. And if you go back into the reverse, where it's up like this, you are in a back bow. So that's if you over-tighten it. So here it's like we're too loose, we're tightening, 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 tightening. Now the neck's straight. Oh, you're going too much. We're going too far. We're taking it from straight to back bow, like this. So if you tighten the rod too much, you're going straight. Tighten too much, you're in a back bow. And you always think about it clockwise and counterclockwise from looking at the adjuster head on. So the adjuster's here at the headstock. I am looking straight down at it, right? So imagine a clock in front of your face. This is clockwise. This is counterclockwise, okay? Clockwise tightens the truss rod. You go from forward bow to straight to back bow if you go too far. Counterclockwise, loosening. You go from straight to more relief, okay? So I can just leave this adjuster in here. It's very stable and solid in there. I'm going to check the relief. Now I'm going to keep tightening this. Turning that bullet adjuster clockwise. Now we're at 3/1000ths of relief. Remember, I want to get to 0. Now we're at 2/1000ths. And I'm doing this under full string tension. Okay? Full string tension tuned to pitch. 2/1000ths. I'll tighten this a little more. 1/1000th. A little more. You can see why I love this digital gauge so much, right? Still at 1/1000th, we got a little more to go. By the way, guys, this is a 24-inch scale. This is a Fender Supersonic, and you do have to be careful with the placement, but the gauge does work on this. The G-Tech Guitars digital neck relief gauge does work on short scales like this, even down to 24 inches. Okay. Now we're at 0. Actually, 1/1000th. Let me just go just a skosh more. Yeah, now we're at 0. Okay. So I am now at 0. We can put the adjuster back here. Okay. That is step 1. Now 25 minutes in, as you can remember, a big portion of that was explaining different ways to check whether the neck is straight or not. I'm going to show you one more way. I call this the tap test. So just hold the string down. Again, let's use the G string near the center of the neck. You can hold it down 1st fret and then either the last fret or wherever it joins the body, in this case the 17th fret. And wherever it joins the body is a little easier because then you can reach your hand up. And I'll show you what I mean by this, right? So my thumb is here, 1st fret, and then wherever it joins the body, hold it down with your thumb. Now you can reach your hand up. Your middle finger generally is going to have the most reach. And you can just look at the fret, look at the 7th fret, and then you just tap the string to see if you can see the string moving. What you're really looking for is clearance. Like again, you're looking for a sliver of light under or between the top of the fret and the bottom of the string, and when we have the relief set to 0, perfectly at 0, we don't want to see any sliver of light. So if that string is moving even a tiny bit, little tiny bit, you know, we are just shy of 0 thousandths. You might be at a half a thousandth. But anyway, I call it the tap test, right? Because you're literally tapping the string at the 7th fret and looking for movement. Now what's funny is when I did this in the playing position to show you what my hands are doing, I can see a little tiny, like again, maybe half a thousandth of an inch to 1,000th of an inch. I can see that string moving just a tiny bit. Do the same test here, holding it down in the same position but with the guitar on its back. It is no longer moving. And that corroborates, right, it's converging evidence with what I said before, which is when you take the relief measurement with the guitar on its back, it is likely going to be, I would say, about typically like a thousandth less than it will be in the playing position due to the effects of gravity. But since we are going to level the frets with the guitar on its back, I set the relief to 0 with the guitar on its back. And then you do have the added benefit once it's all leveled, you get a little leeway, because now you're going to be in the playing position and you've got just a smidgen of relief, like a thousandth, and that's usually what I shoot for. Actually, I should say always, is 0 to 2 thousandths. So having a final relief in the playing position of a thousandth of an inch, chef's kiss. Right, so now, after we've set the neck straight, or I should say the plane of the fret tops as straight as we possibly can get them, alright? I'm going to take a capo and put the capo on the 1st fret to take the 1st fret out of the equation, or rather I should say the 1st fret action, or the nut slot heights, out of the equation. And now what I'm going to do is in the playing position, I'm going to set the action. Now what I like to use for this is the digital action gauge, and I do think it's important to use this in the playing position because the probe falls onto the string, you let it free fall onto the string, and then you hit the 0 button, and then you depress the string, and it will tell you how far away the bottom of the string is from the top of the fret. Right, as the probe pushes the string down, like I'm getting 46 thousandths on the low E string, for example, that's how it works. And the problem with the guitar on its back is that free-falling probe, due to the effects of gravity, especially at the 12th fret where the string tension is not high, the strings are loose, it's going to depress the string a little bit. And then you're zeroing out your probe with the string in a depressed position, so you're not going to get an accurate reading. It's different at the 1st fret because the string tension is so high that this little probe, even with the effects of gravity, it's not really going to affect it. So, well, your relief adjustment does affect 1st fret action, so you can make a case for that. But anyway, we'll get to that in a second. So right now, the method I came up with is to set your 12th fret action while a capo is on the 1st fret to roughly 10 thousandths lower than your desired final open 12th fret action. That means your desired action with no capo on the 1st fret. After you've got the nut slots dialed in and your relief and your 1st fret action are perfect. So because we have a capo on here, I just found through many tests that if I set the action at the 12th fret while a capo is on here to about 10 thousandths lower than my desired action, by the time I get the 1st fret action dialed in, which I always do the same way, I standardize that to the thousandth, just about, that 12th fret action is going to end up about 10 thousandths higher than what we had it when a capo was on the 1st fret. I know that was a mouthful, but just trust me on this one. So we're at 46, okay, 35, 38, 32, 33, 31. Now I have to make a decision, right? In a perfect world, I like to have the action at about 30 thousandths open at the 12th fret on the G, B, and E, and then maybe about, I don't know, 32, 35 on the D, 40 on the A, give or take, and then 46, 50 on the low E. That's generally where I like to land. So I'm going to take, and that to me is like the gold standard. Like if the fretwork is really good, it should be able to work at that level. So I'm just going to eyeball this for now. I got my StewMax screwdriver kit, and I'm going to adjust these saddles down. So I am shooting for about 10 thousandths lower than my desired final open 12th fret action, which would mean if I want, let's say, 46 thousandths on the low E open at the 12th fret, I'm going to set it to 36 thousandths at the 12th fret while the capo is on the 1st fret. Okay, so I'm at 37 thousandths. That's close enough. Let's just leave that there. Now I'm at 30 on the A. Good, because I wanted about 40 when the capo is off and the nut slots are dialed in. I'm at like 34. Let's get that D down a little bit. And the reason I'm holding it like this as well is I am obsessive and I like to get the saddles straight on top. I don't like them tilted. So when I look down like this as I'm adjusting them, I can get all the saddles perfectly straight, or as close to perfectly straight as possible on top. I just like to do that. Okay, so now we're at 29 thousandths. That would be about 39 open. I want to go, I'd say 25. Because we're shooting for like 35 open. I can already tell those other saddles have to come down a bit more as well. Now obviously our string tension is going to change because I'm lowering the saddles, so we do have to retune periodically. See, 28, 20 is about good. I know that seems very low, but I wanted about 30 thousandths if possible. Open at the 12th for my final measurement. So we're going to lower these a little more. Now because of the drop in string tension, our truss rod is going to have a bit more action to it. It's going to be pulling more. There's less string tension. That could be putting us potentially into a back bow. So I'm going to, after I've lowered these saddles, I'm just going to pop that capo off and do a double check here with my strobe tuner. Because I have to lower these saddles quite a bit. Actually, let me get my flat pick out here. Yeah, see, this went all the way down to F. So we want this back up to G. Yeah, so once you lower your saddles and you get them into position, you got to double check your tuning, like here I'm at C sharp. And make sure if you've lowered the saddles, you get everything tuned back up to pitch. And the good thing is, once you get really fast with these tools, like the digital relief gauge, it is not a big deal to double check. You got to keep in mind, I'm teaching you guys how to do this in this video. I'm not just ripping along like I typically would. You know, I get this done a lot faster. So keep that in mind. I know this seems very... I'm going to make sure I'm still at 0. Double check. It's always good to double check. So you see how quick that goes. I just double check to make sure I'm still at 0 after I'm tuned back up to pitch. Okay, and now we can continue. Put the capo back on, and now I am doing this in the playing position. Okay, so 37. 31, 30. You know, like D could come down a little more. Like I said, I want to be at about 35, so I could come down to, it's very low. It's very low, but I would say yes, 25 thousandths at the 12th fret with the capo on the 1st fret for the D string. Right? Perfect. Now we're at 25, but I did bring it down, so let's see. Now, see, I was being fancy there with the strobe tuner. It's another thing, too, that I'm in tech mode. It's not hard, you know, if you play guitar, to tune this by ear, so just as you're lowering these things, you don't need the strobe tuner. You can just... It doesn't have to be absolutely perfect, but you do want to be close, right? Although a tuner is helpful to make sure you're not tuned to E flat. Let's say your E string's at E flat, and then you tune everything to that. Obviously, you're going to have problems. But anyway, so let's move along here. Our D string is good. Let's just double check that. Should be at 25 thousandths. Perfect. Okay. We want the G string at about 20. Now this is low. It's very low. It's very low. I know it. Now we could make an exception too. I'd say like even like 33 thousandths. So let's say like 20 to 23. I mean, I am very demanding. I am extremely obsessive with setups and fretwork, if you didn't notice. So I know I want to shoot for that 30 thousandths, but and remember, if you raise the saddle, you're going to have to tune the string down a little bit to get it back to pitch. All right, we want to keep our string tension consistent so our relief stays consistent and all our measurements stay consistent. All right, so that's at 21 thousandths, which would be about 31 thousandths open. Good. Now I'm at 26 on the B, so I'm going to bring this down to the same thing. About 21 is what we're shooting for, and again, tuning that string back up because we dropped the saddle a bit, so the pitch is going to drop. Yeah, B string's got to come down a bit more. Come down a bit more on that. Okay. Tune it back up. Or let's see where we are now. 21 thousandths. I can live with that. Perfect, okay? Or close enough to perfect. This is at 24. So we're going to bring this down a few thousandths. Just a scotch. Or whatever that word is. Sometimes I use words and I don't know what they mean or where they came from. Alright, we're shooting for, again, we want like about 30 open. So where's this landing now? About 21. Yeah, okay, I can live with that. That's good. Alright. We're close. So we got like, let's do a quick double check. And remember, we're shooting for 10 thousandths more than these measurements. Right? 36 on the low E, 31 on the A, 25 on the D, like 21 on the G, 21, 22 on the B, 22, let's call it like, yeah, 21, 22, G, B, and E. Close enough, right? That'll be like 31, 32 thou. Alright? And now, we got that all set. Again, if you, it seems so insane. Right, we want to make sure. I'm showing you the whole thing here, guys. I'm usually not this insane, alright? But if you really want to do this the right way, you want to cover all your bases, I'm using my strobe tuner here to make sure that I'm not tuned too high or too low. Keep everything consistent. Alright. Alright. So we're in tune. We have our neck relief set to straight. So I'm going to verify again. Now that we've got our action totally dialed in, where are we at? Right? Actually, let's come forward a little bit. Like close to 2 thousandths. Now let's see. Just a tiny pinch of movement. Now, why did that happen? I don't know. Maybe setting the action. You know, maybe readjusting those saddle heights. I don't know. This is why you got to check these things. All I know is I want to lock this in at 0. Maybe locked in at 0. Okay. And if you're unsure, again, tap test here. 1st fret, 17th fret. Yeah, and I can see a tiny. I was getting 2 thousandths. I'm just going to tighten this a little hair, right? And double check again. Go a little bit more. All right. Make sure this is dialed in. There we go, at 0. Yep. Yeah. Yep. Make sure we're at right on 0. And you can do a tap. Again, the tap test is to verify because these meters can be plus or minus 1/1000th of an inch. We don't want to be seeing any movement of that string. All right. Now humor me here. I know this is like pulling teeth to you guys, probably. I'm going to slap that cape on because I did have to tighten that truss rod a little bit once we got it readjusted. So now I'm going to double check again. Where are we at? Just make sure that minute adjustment, yep, we're at 36, 30, 25, something like 22, 22, 22. Yeah, just a little micro adjustment of the truss rod just to snap it back from maybe 1/1000th, 1.5 thou, back to 0. Okay. If you didn't notice, I'm a little obsessive with my work. Yeah, okay, yep. Be right on about 0. Alright, so now we can check the 1st fret action. We got here 44 minutes. See how much time goes into this? People think it's simple. It is not quite. Okay, I'm going to go from high E to low E. 14.5 thousandths. 12 thousandths is good. I can live with that on the B string. 15 on the G. 14 on the D. Ooh, 8 thousandths on the A. 15 on the low E. So my guess is the A string is going to be buzzing if we play this, because that is low. Not horrible, but it is rattling against that 1st fret. So the big thing here is making sure nothing is rattling against the 1st fret when played open. And a good standard to have, I mean, I would say 12 thousandths on the G, B, and E at the 1st fret once you've set the relief and once you've got your action dialed in with that capo on the 1st fret. So 12 thousandths gives you a good buffer. You could get it a little lower, but I mean, you're splitting hairs at that point, and 12 thousandths I found to feel pretty good. You could go 10. I would say maybe 10 on the B and the high E, and probably 12 at a minimum on that G string. But what I'm going to do now, before I file these down, because they are so sensitive to the neck relief adjustment, is just again, make sure everything is settled in. Yeah. Just give that the tiniest little tweak. Take it from, it's like hovering around 1,000. Alright, so just gave it that tiny little tweak, make sure the neck is dead straight, and now I'm going to progress to, I have this fancy nut slotting fret shield. It's just Mylar film that I slip under the strings so I do not accidentally gaff the frets with my nut file when I am lowering the nut slots. So first order of business, I get up my 10,000ths for the high E string because that's at about 14. I want to take that down to 12. Got the nut slotting fret shield on here, and I'm just going to kiss this. Quick little buzz with that saw. I mean, it's a couple thousandths. It takes almost nothing, and these are the Stumac diamond saws. I forgot to mention, you want to slide your rocket roller neck rest up under the first fret to support the neck so you get accurate measurements when you're doing this. Alright, it's at 11 thousandths. That is perfect. I'm going to leave that there. We're shooting for 12, but like I said, you could go down to 10. In the main test, make sure nothing is buzzing open. Now the string is a little dirty. Actually, that diamond file, this is one reason I like to use these razor saws. I don't know what it is, but I seldom get a perfect cut with these diamond files on the high E string. I don't know what it is. Just these razor saws seem to get a cleaner cut and the string sounds better. Sometimes they can sound a little muted, you know, depending on the way you cut that slot. And I don't know what it is again with these diamond or even normal nut files. It just works better with a razor saw. So I'm going to come in here, 10,000ths Stumac pull stroke gauge saw. Make sure we're not too low here. Yeah, okay, now we're at like 10 thousandths on that, so I'm going to leave that there. 12, 11 and a half, I can live with that. 16 on the G, that's a little high, so I'm going to get my 16 thousandths nut file. Has nothing to do with the 16 thousandths action, that's just a coincidence. But the gauge of the string is 16, so I'm going to move that out of the way. Now I want to take this down to at least, like I'd say, 14. Like the G, you want to go a little higher than the, you know, the B and the E. I could live with 14 here. It's like you could do 12, 13. But right now it's at 14, and I'm going to leave it there for now because I could live with that. 14 on the D. Can we get away with it? How does that sound? Playing position. I'm going to leave that for now. It's like slightly a little bit buzzy. Actually, you know what? Let's correct that. I'm just going to do another quick cut here, and I'm going to go grab my super glue. Alright, so I've got my super glue Pipette Caddy. I'm working on a video for that. This thing is awesome. So anyway, that D string, it's a little, it's got to come up like a couple thousandths. This is very, very minor. I'm just going to take a little of this nut rescue powder, drop it into the slot. This is very delicate work. And now I'm going to take my pipette, which is loaded with super glue, I keep in the refrigerator. I'm going to use a Q-tip behind the slot to make sure that no errant glue gets behind the slot where the fingerboard is finished, but it's usually not going to happen. These pipettes are so accurate. Put that little bit of glue in there, and the Q-tip will suck up any excess via capillary action. And now, just wait for that to dry. This dries pretty quickly, but if you want, sometimes I will take a skewer and go into some CA glue accelerator and just dip it and then touch it over that slot to make sure everything is nice and hard before we move forward, because you don't want to stick that string back in there while the glue is still setting up or the powder is still in the crystallization process. Right? So now, get out my gauge again after filling the slot, and we are at 23. So now very carefully, I'm going to get a 24 thousandths nut file for the D string diameter. Get the nut slotting fret shield, slip it under the strings, pull that D string out of the slot and out of the way, and I'm going to file this with my StewMac Diamond nut file. Just do a little bit, because remember, you can always take more off. But if you go too far, you're going to have to fill that slot all over again. And we are at, believe it or not, 17 thousandths. What was I at before? 14? That's all it took. Just this tiny little pass. You see how easy it is to go too far, too. That's better. Alright. So now that slot is filled and corrected. Now let's check again. Oh, I know that A string was bad. That is super low. Or at least it was when I measured it initially. Okay, we're getting 12, 13 thousandths. Maybe I was off a little before. Or 16. Yeah, 13, 14 on the A. That should probably also come up a little bit. So just like on the D string, I'm going to move that A string out of the way and fill that slot. I want to get that up about the same, like at 17, maybe even 18 thousandths on the A string. So, get my powder, drop it in the slot. You can press the string into the slot while the dry powder is loaded into it to make an impression, and then carefully remove the string. Actually, you can leave it in the slot, blow on it, and then all that will be left behind after you blow on it will be the powder that is in the slot. So the powder on the fretboard and all that will be out of the way. And I'm going to again take the Q-tip, put it up against the back of the slot by the finished side of this rosewood board. Take my pipette, wick in that glue. Any excess that would spill out onto the fingerboard on the other side will get wicked into the Q-tip. And I can blow on it, and if I can find my accelerator again, I just keep it in a similar medicine bottle. Now where did my skewer go? This is a classic part of guitar work, by the way. If you haven't caught on to that by now, it's losing things. I'm literally going to get a new skewer here because I don't know where that one went that I just used 3 seconds ago. So, there, accelerator on a skewer, dip it into the accelerator, wick it on, and done. Okay? Actually got a little much accelerator on there. Clean it up with a Q-tip. Pop that A string back into the slot, and now we're going to remeasure. We're now at 18.5 thousandths. I think that's actually perfectly fine to just leave it right there. You don't even have to recut it. Now if you want to make I'm just tuning it to make sure, because I didn't recut the slot, that the string is not binding in that slot. And it is not. So this is, sometimes you get lucky with this, right, and you fill a slot and you don't even have to recut it. Using the string to make an impression in the dry powder before you fill it can work beautifully, because you're forming that dry powder to the diameter of the string. Carefully remove it. CA glue, actually I'm getting 19 thousandths. What did I say about being obsessive? This is like insane. I am just going to barely, like literally, just that, the tiniest, lightest pass. I'm going to see if I get that to 18. Okay, now we're at 18. Yep. Alright, that's good. I'm happy with that. Now, do we want to match it? Is low E buzzing at all? It's at 16 and a half. 15. The devil in me wants to just leave it be. But we are getting a little buzz open on that E, so you have to suck it up, because that will benefit from being filled. The low E string has to be the highest, because it's the most prone to buzzing open at the first fret. Fattest string and all that. So get some powder in there. String into the slot to form the dry powder. Blow on it to get rid of the excess on either side of the nut. And now, pipette, Q-tip against the back, and we're going to fill that slot. Wick up the excess. Get our accelerator and our skewer. Too bad I had the same skewer from last time. I was kind of hoping I'd forget where it was for entertainment purposes. Alright. Filled. Alright. Got that filled. Dry it off. Q-tip. Put the string back in the slot. We're already tuned to pitch. And 23. Alright, so I would take this down. I'd say like 20. Let's go with 20 because that was a little buzzy. I'm going to get my 42 thousandths nut slotting file. Put the shield under here. Take the string out to the side. Just, you really got to do minimal passes with these. It feels like you're doing almost nothing. Then you go to measure it and you're down farther than you thought you want it to be. 22. You got to be so tender with these tools. This is an interesting word choice. Alright. We having fun yet? 21. We had 9 minutes. I don't know, this is you're seeing it in real time, guys. You want to get into this, doing this kind of work, and then you also, or if you don't do it and you wonder why it's so expensive, well, this is why. Alright, we're at 20. Or it should be expensive. I gotta jack my rates up. Seriously, I am extremely obsessive. I want these to come out perfect every time. I don't care if the guitar's playing position. Now you got a little... Alright, well, 20 thousandths. I might decide to bring that up a little bit later, but let's go with that for now. I think that's good. Should have maybe tested it at 23. But alright, now we're getting to the fun part, guys. Now you can really... Now it's going to get exciting. So now we're moving on to the fretwork stuff, because the setup is done. We got everything dialed in. Now let's see our open 12th fret action, actually. Got a little ahead of myself there. Okay, we're at like 49, so close, right? 49, 41, 36, 29, 30, 31. So things moved a tiny bit. And keep in mind, again, these gauges plus minus 1,000th accuracy generally, and then user error. But what did I tell you? About 10 thousandths, right? So now we have it set up to the specs that I usually like to have them set up at. Right? We've done the whole thing. We just checked the action. Let me double check. Now let's see the relief in the playing position. It's for laughs, right? Yeah, we're at about 2/1000ths. Like straddling like, you know, 1.5, 1,000th, 2,000th. And we can see too, let's put it back down on the bench because I do want to make sure this is straight before we get to leveling the frets, because I got a feeling it's gonna need it. It is gonna need it, okay? Yeah, about 1,000th. Now it's funny, right? Because it can move a little bit during the adjustment process, and that string is moving just a skosh. So I'm gonna get my 1/8 inch wrench. Again, this is why you gotta check it periodically. I don't know if the neck is settling sometimes, and you make adjustments and it changes, but we gotta stay on top of that zero. You know, that zero relief, and this is going to have an effect on the 1st and 12th fret action, so we want to be aware of that. Okay, now we're, yeah, that's good. Got to keep in mind those nut slots are very sensitive to your truss rod adjustment, so you do not want to cut them down all the way to the minimum while you have relief in the neck. Then you're going to be filling a bunch of nut slots. Yep, 19 or 20, 19, 20, and 18 for the A, 17 on the D. What are we at on the G? I'm going to say like 14, 14, 13. Okay, it's like 12, B, 10, 11, high E. Yeah, so we're at spec here. So now, again, okay, now the fun part, right? So, and I can tell. Here's the chromatic test, right? Boring, but so not bad. We're getting a little buzz. Now, there's choking. Now, what most people are going to do you know, this is not bad. This is not bad. It's not bad, but it could be better. So one thing I'm going to do now, we're going to take the same nut slotting fret shield, and this doubles as a pickup protector during our fret leveling. So I'm going to slip it under, and I'm going to get some Scotch tape. Oh, I got some right here. Scotch tape is very low tack. It's great for this stuff. And I'm just going to tack down the Mylar film to the body on this side and then on this side. So now our pickups are protected from the leveling beam. I'm going to take the Rectify Master Magic String Jack, just slip it under between the B and the high E. I got my fresh leveling beam here. And I'm just going to start leveling a little. Easy peasy. I'm keeping very minimal downward pressure on this tool. I'm basically letting the tool do the work, as they say. Now, so I can actually see what I'm doing. Yeah, along the chromatic plane, we had a couple glitches on the high E string, and that's just what I'm going to touch up. It's not major. see how that looks. That should be better. For the chromatic, as I call it, the chromatic plane, the straight chromatic notes. Or the unbent. Actually, let me get that dust off. Use a little brush. Like this. Take the magic string jack out. That just jacks up 2 strings at a time. And make sure the Mylar film is not touching the string. As I can see, I have almost touched all the fret tops. There was a little bit of a glitch right there. You could hear where that was choking out a little. And I can see where the fret is low. The tool has not touched the fret down there. All up here we're okay. I'm just going to go until we hit. Alright. Moving just under the high E here. And I am going across the full length. Kind of what I've been doing lately is just starting with the full length leveling. Now you do got to keep in mind as you lower that first fret from leveling, you're going to have to lower those slots again. When we're splitting thousandths, you can bet that lowering the fret heights at the first fret is going to affect, it's going to affect everything. If you take all the fret heights down, you're going to have to make micro adjustments to compensate for that after. So take out the string jack. You know, that little, you can hear that. So what I'm going to transition to now is a little Fallaway. Kind of like 12 and 13, I'm getting a little fuzz, but everything behind it is okay. So that is where I like to transition, and these actually I made out of carbon fiber. It's my own thing. This is from Dragon Plate Carbon Fiber in New York. I had them custom cut me a 1/2 inch wide piece of 1 inch carbon fiber I-beam. I made a little handle for it and glued that on. So these are awesome. I think these are some of the best understring leveling tools. You can't get them anywhere. You got to make them yourself, but they already come pretty much ready to use. You just got to flatten them out, maybe put a handle on them. But anyway. Now I could do a little Fallaway by angling this down with a piece of tape over it, but for now I'm just going to do under the high E string. Let's get that from like 12 to the end. I'm just going to flat level it a little bit. Like the frets behind it are okay, so why make them pay for everything when I could take off like maybe 1/4 of a thousandth? And correct that. Let's see that. That's better. So you see, you want to be adaptable with that too. Have a full length beam and some shorter ones. So I'm going to leave that for now. Let me just go a tiny bit more. And actually, let me see how the B string is doing while we're at it up here. Yeah, that's okay. But we're going to be taking more out of that anyway. So part of the bending problem on the high E, I came up with this technique called partial compound radiusing, where you remove material from under only the B and the G strings. You're flattening that area to give the high E string more breathing room for bending. You do not level under the high E. I've got a whole nother video on that, so you can go check that out if you want. And actually, let me trim up the end of this. It's a little sloppy cutting that sandpaper. There we go. Get the excess sandpaper off. And now, rectify master light under the, I jacked up the G and the B strings. And I'm going to level here, and I'm not going to level under the high E at all. That is done. high E under the chromatic plane is done. So my goal here with this, what I call the partial compound radius, is to lower the fret heights, it's to compound the radius, flatten the fret tops. Really from like halfway to the high E string from the B, and maybe to directly under the G string, or a little past it. Like that gives us a full range where we will be able to bend that high E string more without choking out. Now you do have to sacrifice some fret height in order to accomplish this. And this is really profiling the frets more than leveling. So we're going way beyond leveling for this. So, one thing I forgot to do, I forgot to mention, this is kind of important. I'm going to take some virgin fret here, like between the A and the D where I have not touched it at all. Zero out your gauge, your digital action gauge on the fingerboard. 0, 0, 0, 0, zero it out. And then put it over the fret. So it says negative 46 thousandths. So these frets are about 46 thousandths tall, brand new. And we are currently at about 44 between the B and the G, which means I've taken off, well, it varies a little, 45, so I'm taking off like 1 to 2 thou between the B and the G. And the beauty, look at how easy that is. I just took the jack out, the string jack. You can test it immediately. Let's do the high E bending test, right? We're getting a little choking out at 10, but not much. And keep in mind, this action is rock bottom. I would even say we could even live with that, just a couple thousandths taken out. But let's go a little more and really kind of maximize that bendability we're going to get on the high E string without choking out at a screamingly low action. All right. Just gonna. Again, how I'm leveling here, like you can't see it from this angle, but I got another video. You see, it's called a masterclass. Just look up masterclass on my channel, and you will see me in a video with these dark sunglasses, these red lens sunglasses on with a pink guitar. It's a pink Mustang. And that is where I go way more in depth on this whole process for partial compound radiusing. I might even do a separate video on it. A more shorter dedicated one. But yeah, I mean, this sounds pretty good. This sounds pretty good, so. Get that all gussied up there. And let's do the bend test. Well, actually, first let's do take the jack out. And let's see, chromatic plane again, G. Good. So everything on the chromatic plane is working good on those 3 strings. Good. Now let's start. I usually start at the 5th fret for the E for the bending test. Oh, let me start over again. Get a little fuzz there. I mean, that's pretty damn good. Now let's see where we are. All right, so the starting fret height was about 46 thou. And now we are at, whoa, oh Nelly. Hold on to your pants. Okay, but let's see. Yeah, we're barely, I really didn't have to do much on this at all. It's like 45. This is actually pretty unusual. You can get away with taking off only about 1,000th, 2,000ths, you know, 44 here. It's taken off a little more higher up. These frets might have been sticking up a little more. The board could be a little uneven, whatever. Yeah. So a couple of these at the end here. Sometimes you can get a little heavy-handed too. And by the way, it doesn't hurt to do a little Fallaway with a little Scotch tape. So actually, to finish this off, I think I'm going to do that. I'll measure the tape for about the first 4 frets. Strip of tape that's like 4 frets long. I'm going to put this over the beam right here. Right, so we're adding thickness and we're blocking the sandpaper. So what that's going to do, it's going to tilt it up that way. And that's going to give us a little Fallaway. So it's going to disproportionately level a little bit more from the end of the board. And we're not leveling anything from like 1 to 4 here under the B and the G string. So, of course, if the tape stayed on the... if it stayed on, that would be a huge help. All right, let's see. There we go. I should probably cut that tape to size to make it a little easier. Well, anyway, I'm just going to do a quick pass to finish this up. We're not leveling at all on frets 1 to 4, and it's going to take a little more off at the very end. And keep in mind, we're going very little here. This is just going to make sure we got extra clearance. Because this is already sounding pretty good. This one's pretty easy. Sometimes I really got to go hog wild doing the partial compound radius to get that high E string bending without problems, but this one's pretty easy. Alright, the jack is taken out. I get my pick. Beautiful. Oh, we got a little good. See, now that string's choking out a little there. We could do a little more Fallaway. That one's all good. G string is okay. You can hear on the B string, it's actually got a little hitch in the giddy up at the end. So there's a couple things you can do here. I could just flatten out with a flat beam. You could do more Fallaway, or you could just go flat at the end. So you got a couple options here, right? I'm going to say like 10 to 12 to the end, and then using this shorter beam. Just going to flatten that out a bit. And like I said, with Fallaway, you can, if you want. See the beam here? Let's tape that off from... Where's this going to be? Taping over that from... Oh, if we start around 12, it'll tape it off to like 14. So going under there, let me cut that end off. The tape can't be completely sloppy. All right? Now I got Fallaway. I have this taped off from. So you get this lined up over the very last fret. It's taped off to 12, so it's like the tape terminates at the 12th fret. So it's technically doing Fallaway from like 13 to the last fret. I'm just going to go a little more. It's like I said, that B string had a little hitch in the giddy up at the end. That freaking last fret, and I was doing some bends. High E string sounds okay, but that B string, again, a little hitch in the giddy up. So let's avoid that nickel-loaded fret dust. Or as much as we reasonably can. And that's better. Not perfect. let's retune quickly because I am bending the strings a lot. That's going to factor in here. Make sure these are tuned back up to pitch. Make sure everything's tuned up. Yeah, okay. They're all tuned up. Now we didn't have to remove much. I can actually play. But tech side, we're just trying to get the mechanics of the string bends. Okay, that's good. I'm happy with that. So let's just buzz over to the A and the D. I'll just clean those up a little bit. Got those strings jacked up. No tape on here, straight leveling. All right. Just get under here. Oh, I forgot. Let me turn that light off so I can... This helps me see the glint on top of the frets, like where the beam is actually removing material. Like I can see here, we're touching everything up until 12 on the A strings. I've got 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Between the A and the D are not being touched at all by the beam, so there's a low spot. What did I say, 12 to 19 or something? Let's go a little more. And just get these leveled out under tension. And so, also, by the way, pull if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Now I can see discrepancies in the fret heights, and we could just blindly say, like, look, go until you touch all the fret tops. You have to do that, you gotta do it. But if you're playing it and it's not buzzing, that sounds fine to me. Now I could keep going until I touch all those fret tops. There's a couple that haven't been touched. Actually on this one, yeah, there's a few. It's like you could do that. You could go and level them until they're all touched, but it's like if it's playing fine and it sounds fine, even though you didn't touch all the fret tops, it's like, do you really need to? Now that one needs it. But you know what I mean? You gotta think outside the box a bit, where it's like, okay, you don't blindly level everything. It makes sense. It makes sense. You want to go until all the fret tops are touched, but even if they are not all touched, if you level a little bit and you're most of the way there, and you play it, and it sounds perfectly fine. Nothing is buzzing, nothing's jumping out at you like it needs to be corrected. It's okay to resist the obsessive urge to just go until you've touched all the fret tops. It's okay to resist that urge. You don't have to do it. This is one of the beauties of understring leveling, is you can test it immediately. Now I'm just going to cut the video quick because having super gigantic single files makes editing a little more difficult. So I'm just going to bust this up for a sec. Alright, but I am considering this one take. I'm doing sequential shots here and I'm not editing anything, so... Now one of my things for... One of my things for the low E is using a light touch. It's like if you're really going to hammer it, it's going to buzz. That's just, that's how it is. I didn't make the rules. You can't wail on that string and then... I will say, and it is tempting, I'm seeing those frets that are a little low and I'm like, oh boy. But they sound fine. Now on the low E string, because the A and the D sound fine to me, they really do. So resist the urge. even though all the fret tops were not touched perfectly, almost all of them were. I just grazed the top a couple, and there's a couple that are like, look like they're a tiny bit low, but they sound fine. They sound fine, so I'm leaving it. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to get my Katana out. Let me turn the light on so you can actually see what I'm doing here. I'm going to measure the relief in the Katana. I made a mark here with a Sharpie to mark the center of the tool so I can put the probe of my digital gauge on here. I'm at 0 right now. Let's twist that and put, now I'm at like 3 thousandths, 2-3 thou. Now I'm going to do this just under the E. I mean, I could even get it under the A as well, but the A's not really having any problems. So what did I just say? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. I just verified by playing the strings that the A string is fine. So why ruin a good thing? So I'm just going to do this under the E string. I have a little relief carved in, or put into the tool. And what I'm doing is, under tension, I am sanding in an X pattern with the Katana set to about 3 thousandths of relief. And what this is going to do is carve some actual relief into the frets themselves, only under the low E string, where in my opinion it needs a little bit of it. Because it's still buzzy. The A and the D, the G, the B and the E, high E, are all working good. Low E, not so much. Let's try that again. Alright. Now one of the things I will do as well is add some Fallaway in addition to relief, which I'm thinking this is going to need. So I'm just going to put a little strip of tape like we did last time over the Katana. Jack that string back up again. We get under here. And I'm doing that to about the 3rd fret where I'm not touching anything. Right? I'm going just under the low E. But now X pattern, sanding in an X pattern. So sometimes combining a little Fallaway with relief is a better solution than just doing the relief by itself. This is another proprietary technique I have come up with. Results may vary, right? So let's just do that a little bit. And as always, keeping track of our fret heights. You can see I'm profiling the fret tops. It's like you have leveling and then you got profiling. So let's see here. We're zeroed out to the board. I'm at like 42, 43 in the middle. These are down a few thousandths. Let's see how that... Because this was pretty bad before. And we are at, just use my regular gauge here, should be, yep, it's right around 4650. So we are in our target range. And one thing I will do as well, you can actually move that position of relief down by starting the leveling up a little higher. So instead of just full length leveling and we got the tape to the 3rd fret, I can just slide this forward. Let's go to like fret, I'll start at the 2nd fret. 2nd, 3rd, right, and then start the relief will be at a bit higher up. And this is a very unorthodox technique. So we got a little relief carved in. And additionally, one thing I can do is take this beam with the flat beam, right, the short one, and I can do a little Fallaway from 12 to the end, like flat Fallaway, just under that string. And this will give us a little more breathing room. So we got the relief carved in a little bit, and then we've got a little extra Fallaway to help us out. That low E string can be so finicky. And again, I do not claim perfection with this. I am more pioneering some techniques. So anybody that's got a Plek machine or a way of analyzing the optimal, you know, curvature, because I do believe there is one. And this is just basic physics. Now again, we could raise the action a little bit. But that is better. And I go again for a light touch. Let's see where those frets are. I'm actually pretty happy with that. I am pretty happy with that. Chromatic plane and the string bending. I'm going to go a little bit more. Now one thing I'm going to do, back off on the Katana so we get it back to straight. I know it seems like I'm going all over the place here. But that low E string, we're going to do a little straight full length Fallaway just to touch this up. Actually not full length, I'm going to start at about the 5th fret. Just go a little. Yeah, Fallaway can make a big difference, but I'm a big fan of that. A little relief carved in, and then add a little Fallaway. Yeah. One more pass. Let's just do a little pass. Especially those first 3 frets are just bugging me a little bit. So let's just do like 4 to the end. Yeah. Alright. Again, light touch on the low E. I can live with that. Alright, so now all our stuff's working. Alright, so we've tested the bends, we've tested the chromatic plane. What are we at now? I don't know, time-wise. But anyway, now we are ready for the crowning and polishing. And this is done with the strings off. So I'm happy with how this sounds. We've got the leveling done. Let's pop these beams back in here for another day. Actually, I have my rubber block. Just before I put these away, and just give it a quick little, oh, that block's not feeling amazing, but quick little buzz with that rubber block, maybe shop back. You know, that the sandpaper has quite a long life to it. I could use that again without reloading it. Put the Katana back in there. Get our other beam, we're done with the leveling. Leveling and profiling, okay? So now that's all back in here. Close that up. Now I'm going to get my peg winder out if I can find out what I did with it. Get my string spreaders. Why not turn the light back on for this, okay? This is a reverse headstock, so this is throwing me off a little bit. Just kidding. I'm not thrown off at all. Alright. Okay. String spreaders. E, A, and D to one side, G, B, and E to the other. Let's pop this guy under here. Get these strings out of the way, and then we can get to the crowning and polishing, which is a whole nother process. These strings out of the way. There we go. Now, what I like to do, actually let me get move that light out of the way. Get all this stuff in the way. Okay. Where did I gotta find a fretboard guard that fits these frets. Okay, that's perfect. I grab my crowning file. I like to use a 3-corner. I will show you though, you can cheat a little bit. Let me get my... I know my offset file's in here somewhere. There it is. So, there's a couple ways you can do this. Sometimes this'll buzz them off faster. You know, the offset crowning file. But I have come to prefer these 3-corner files for ultimate control and precision. So, oh, you're gonna see the whole thing here. You're gonna see the whole process, whether you like it or not. This is very labor-intensive and time-consuming. And so, if people wonder why fretwork is so expensive, it's like you saw the leveling process and how finicky that is. But now we gotta. Let me get my centered Z file. This thing doesn't really work. Or sorry, the safe edge Z file. It's like, these are supposed to really speed things up. I find these don't work amazingly well. At least I don't know. To me, they don't. Like, I think they got to workshop this again. Now I'm going to go one at a time here. Let me get my glove on actually for polishing these things out. I'm going to do this one at a time. So I'm actually going to go. Why not go the whole thing, right? We can do the crowning and polishing in one step. So I just crowned it. And now I'm going to take this sandpaper and polish. First I hit it with some 320. Now I'm working from the sides laterally. I'm going horizontally across the fret with 320. And I might as well get out my fret erasers. I like to use 400, 800. You can really get away with 4, 8, 12, and then 2000. I mean, you can go all the way up if you want. But let's say I'm going to do 400 grit. Let's keep these up here for easy access. I got the 400, 800. So we get 320 paper, then 400 fret eraser, 800 fret eraser, 1200. Whoops. 1200 I said. And then 2000. And really at the very end, I might go over this with steel wool. I might just hit it one more time. I actually polished these out before to clean up the board. But steel wool after, and you could run the whole gamut with the fret erasers if you want. There's like a couple more grits. But I find it feels good enough. And steel wool's a nice finish, but actually, you know what? Let's not be lazy with it. All right. Yeah, talked me into it. All right, I'll hit it with the super fine grits. Okay, you happy now? Now we did the final 2 super fine ones to get it all nice and spiffed up. Now we're on fret 2. I'm not charging enough money for this. Yeah, I got that in that other pink Mustang video too. You can see my fret crowning and the whole process I use for that and how that works in much closer detail. This video I just want to put something out here. If I'm lagging behind, got all these people putting out unedited videos and I'm taking like 20 years, to get done with a video. I'm like, you know what? What if I just film the process without editing it? And you get to see why people might charge so much for this work. Or if you are a guitar tech and you might, this might be a wake-up call that you got to start charging way more than you have been. All right, this is fret number 2. Only got 2 out of, what, 21 frets? Get this. Now we got 400. Okay. 400. 800. I forget the numbers on these. They all wore off. I think it's like 12. This is like 2,000, then like 4,000 and 8,000 or something like that. Something like that. We're going one at a time though, and we're spiffing these boys up. Right? And keep going. We're gonna see the whole process here. And you might see me trade off because I really want this Z file to work. It's supposed to be making my life easier. That's what I paid the big bucks for. Like, I don't know how these are working for everyone else. Ah, well, I guess maybe because the fret heights on this are adequate. This actually is. We might actually have a working solution here that's easier than the 3-corner file, maybe at least to some extent. Right? Cool. That might shave a little time off. I mean, it's not getting it hundo here. I'll spiff that up a little bit. Alright. I learn something new every day. Maybe that tool I paid almost 200 bucks for is not completely worthless. It's always good when that happens. Man, for time. 17. I'm like chomping at the bit here. I want to be done with this. Oh Lord, do I want to be done. I want to check my text messages. Is that girl I'm talking to that I want to hear from? Shout out to Birthday Twin. Anyone who knows me personally knows, well, I don't want to get into the lore here too much. I'll just leave it at that. Shout out to Birthday Twin. Yep. Okay. Yeah, it's funny, these phones. They say they're addictive. But to me, it's the social connection. I'm like, I want to talk to specific people. Healthy attachment is very important. Anyway, see, my mind's drifting. This will happen, by the way. This is what happens when you do guitar work. Here's a hack, life hack. I'm going to start. I'm going to do at the other end here. Actually, let me get some scrap leather. Because trust me, you do not want to gaff the body. If you think this is bad, and how long this video has been, wait until you gaff a guitar. And spend like 5 hours trying to unscrew up your mistake. Like, oh, let me get some filler, let me get some paint, let me do some buffing, wet sanding, and it's like, now put the scraps down, the scrap leather, Mylar film. I don't think masking tape's going to save you from a whole lot. You got to go with the big dog stuff. Leather, Mylar film, I think leather's the best. That will do a nice job of protecting. See, one of the things is, because these, when you got the neck on the body, the frets at the end are a little bit more of a pain to crown, harder to reach. So I'm just coming in here. I'm going to knock out these guys first. I did those few other frets, and I'm like, it is an illusion. It's all going to take the same amount of time, but it feels like, because the frets at the end are closer together than the ones up top. It's total psychology. It's going to take you the same amount of time no matter which way you do it, but there is something to, you knock out these closer spaced frets at the end. I don't know. To me, psychologically, it feels like it takes some of the burden off of how monotonous this is. Oh. Hold on a second. Oh yeah, I gotta take a shower. Not that you needed to know that, but... Oh, I'm gonna smell myself through the camera here, like passing out. Kidding, it's not that bad, but... Probably get some cardio in after this. And can you believe this? How does it look with the light on? I'm like working. I know I'm working in the dark here, but I can't. I gotta keep it off. I can't see the glint on top of the frets with that light on. All right. Oh, I got a lot on my mind. I'm gonna turn it into a therapy session. Oh, yeah. Anybody else that does guitar tech work, they're gonna know exactly what this is. You know, you start talking to yourself, and it's like, oh yeah, thinking about all kinds of things. I'm going to stay tight-lipped about exactly what I'm thinking about, but I am thinking about a lot. The mysteries of the world, and love and relationships, life, consciousness. You know? Because trust me, I'm still on the last fret here. I'm on that very last fret. We're still polishing that out. 1, 2, 3. This is fret number 4. Fret number 4 out of what? 20? I think it's 22 frets. I think it's 22. I think it is. There we go. Nice and polished out. Oh, the last fret is done. Yeah. Oh, wait. I started working from the other end. We got 15, 17, 19, 20. It is 22. It's 22 frets, and I have 4 of them done. And you are going to suffer through all of it with me. Hey, you got the advantage of being able to fast forward here. You skip over all this stuff. I don't have a choice. So, story time. This reminds me of a Zen cone. Cone, or koan, right? But I call them Zen cone. It's the American pronunciation, right? So, there was a Zen koan about a guy. He said he's stiffly receiving the homage. Is it homage or homage or whatever? I don't know. Of others, right? He's like a government official and he hates his job. He's like, oh, it's so boring. I gotta sit here all day and just, it's stiffly receive guests and pretend I care about this stuff. And he went to a Zen master for help as to how he might pass the time or kind of break up the monotony. So the guy writes him a poem, and it's called Inch Time Foot Gem. And it says, I forget how it went, but it's something about inch time foot gem. This day will never, not twice today, this day will never come again. Every moment is worth, inch time foot gem, every moment is worth a priceless gem. Something like that. And the way I think about it is inch time, right? Inch, you look at it in inches, it's going to seem like a long time. You look at it in the grand scheme of things, like looking at it as a foot, you see the beauty in it in the moments. Like when you're caught up in the minutia of the day-to-day monotony, like crowning these frets, and I'm like, oh shit, I gotta do 22 frets, and I'd rather be doing this, and I'd rather be doing that. That is the inch. You're focusing on the inch. So the foot, focusing on the foot, right? Inch time, foot gem. This is my personal interpretation, by the way. I've never read an interpretation of it. This is just my perspective. So inch time, you look at it in these inches, it's like, it seems like drudgery. But you see it as a foot, the grand scheme of things, we're only here for a short amount of time. We only get to live for so long. And every moment, right? Not twice today. This day will never come again. So even me filming this right now, right? This is a moment in time. A long, continuous strands of time. But you can really appreciate even the boring stuff like crowning frets where it seems like drudgery by expanding your scope. It's like this moment is as valuable as any other that we're ever going to have, because it will never come again. The moment's already passed. I got it filmed here, but once it is gone forever. Never again. Will I be 36 years old on this day, whatever day it is, I think it's June 28th or 29th or something, 2026. Let me check my phone quick. not for text messages. Yes, it is June 29th, 11:27 a.m., 2026. This day will never come again. This moment will never come again. It's already gone. So you're really focusing your awareness on that, and every moment is as valuable as any other. So when you learn to appreciate, how valuable life is in the small moments that seem like they don't matter and they seem like drudgery, that will translate everywhere else. Like, oh, time flies when you're having fun. It's like, no, I'm always having fun. You start telling yourself, my life is amazing at all times, no matter what I am doing. Right, including crowning these frets right now and filming this video. So, it seems like drudgery, but man, there is a big Zen lesson in doing work like this, right? Now I'm on fret number 6 out of 22. Is it drudgery? No, if you say that it is, if you say that it's drudgery, then it is. But also, okay, because you got to keep yourself occupied when you're crowning frets mentally. At least I like to, so I'm going to go on a little tangent here and be like, think of how we take skills for granted. I remember there was once upon a time, I didn't know how to do any of this stuff. And I was so hell-bent on mastering fretwork and getting guitars to play like setting them up and getting them to play just like this, which now I've been taking totally for granted. Why do you think I'm making a video about this? I don't need the video. I'm doing this for other people so they can avoid the mistakes I made, get insights that I didn't have. It took me over 20 years to get to this level of skill where I can just nail it every time with these. Get these standardized setup specs. I have worked my ass off for over 20 years. I'm 36, I'm going to be 37. I started doing guitar work at 15. And my friend and mentor, Steve K. That's K with a period. He asked me to call him Steve K and not refer to him by his full name. So I'm respecting that. Right, but that was about when I was about 15 years old, and I'd been playing guitar for about a year. And then I was like, I didn't know you could even work on them. I didn't know there were things that could be worked on. I was just a kid. I didn't know any better. And that started a whole trajectory that led to what you see on my channel today, which is the Guitar MD YouTube channel, which is my way of being like Steve was to me for everybody in the world that finds my content. I show it for free, I share it for free. You get to learn, you get to see me working. Like, I can't tell you the amount of hours I spent watching him do stuff just like this. The methods I learned were very different from what I use today. They're very different. Like, I remember he taught me, I learned how to crown fret, or level frets with a Nicholson hand file. So if you think this is time consuming, and I got good at it, but that was like a 6 and 8 inch Nicholson hand file, and I would level with the strings off. Learn how to cut nuts by eye, like I did. He taught me to do the string spacing completely by eye. And I got good at that too, but that also led to me coming up with my caliper method, my proprietary nut slot spacing technique, which, by the way, I have a video in the works, an updated version of that is way better. So now I'm going to get another strip of sandpaper, and we're going to go polishing the side of that fret. Now, what did I say? Inch time foot gem, right? I didn't intend on turning this into a therapy session, but everybody, like Steve always told me, he goes, nobody gets out of this unscathed. So, crowning frets and polishing frets is a really good opportunity to do some reflection. Now, why is that? Well, because you're occupied doing something that requires your brain to focus, but it is by rote enough that once you get good at this, you do have to focus a lot more in the beginning. It's like driving a car. Like, when I didn't know how to crown and polish frets, it's like you're watching it like a hawk, and you're so scared you're going to mess up. But once you achieve a level of mastery, You can just buzz through it while you're talking, like what I'm doing right now, without even really thinking about it. But your brain is still occupied. And the cool thing is I used to work in and I still do this, by the way. It's called faster EFT. It's a method developed by Robert Dean Smith for dealing with just about any mental, emotional problem in the world that you could think of. PTSD, CPTSD, health problems, health anxieties, fears, phobias, depression, bipolar disorder, borderline personality disorder, avoidant personality, literally anything you could think of, right? Because it deals with how the mind works. So, on that note, and it's based on a lot of NLP principles, that's neuro-linguistic programming, and I've worked with a lot of different people, and there's a lot on myself and my own traumas. I have a lot of them, had a lot of them, and one of the key tenets in NLP is pattern interrupts. Right, so a pattern interrupt is like, okay, you go into the trauma, and in faster EFT, you do the tapping on acupressure points. I release and let it go. It's safe to let it go, even though I don't want to let it go, and even though I can't, and even though I think this exercise is complete bullshit, it's safe to let it go. Grab your wrist, take a deep breath in, blow it out, and say peace. And you go back to the trauma. You repeat this. It's very similar to EMDR, which is also, by the way, based on based on NLP principles. Francine Shapiro, the founder of EMDR therapy, worked with Richard Bandler, who was a hypnotist. He was one of the founders of NLP. Brilliant guy. So anyway, there's your little lesson today. So tying that all back to fretwork, it's like, yes, right now I consider crowning frets to be a sort of pattern interrupt. Like I'm thinking about stuff that's bothering me, but I'm filming, I'm talking, and I'm crowning and polishing these frets. So my brain is occupied as I'm going into these traumatic things I'm thinking about that would normally throw me for a giant loop. I'm going into it, I'm feeling upset, but because my brain is going back and forth between this mechanical work, filming the video and talking, pattern interrupt. It's just like when you go into the trauma, you do the tapping, you have the phrases you're saying that I improvise personally. You have all the stuff. EMDR, they have you follow lights back and forth. They have all their theories on that. But ultimately, my understanding is it comes down to pattern interrupts. It's like you go into the trauma, you have a pattern interrupt that pulls you out of it, grounds you in the present moment, then you go back into it. And you go in and you go out, and you go in and you go out, and you'll notice as you continuously do that, the internal representation of the trauma begins to change. And now the memory feels different. It might be less intense. Sometimes it gets more intense. Sometimes the colors change. It's third person, now it's first person. It was black and white, now it's in color. You notice what comes up. Sometimes you have somatic sensations. It's like your throat's closing up and you feel panicked, and my chest is tightening up. Now by the third or fourth round of doing this pattern interrupt, whatever method you choose, there's a lot of them, you start feeling differently. And it's like, wow, now all of a sudden, this trauma that was totally running my life and I had a very strong reaction to, I'm not even reacting to it. I can think about it, and it's not bothering me. Isn't that crazy? So, I'm telling you, something that has to be experienced. You just got to do it. And it works. It works whether you believe it or not. You don't have to believe it because it operates similar to guitar setups principles. It's based on how things work, and it's like you don't have to believe that it works in order for it to work. That's just like, with my videos, people are like, oh, I don't know if this works. I know that it works. I know that it works, and I can show you with numbers, like fret heights, action specifications. It's like I know it works, and I can prove it. Same with pickups. It's a whole nother thing. But yeah, anybody complaining about prices for, and I do have to raise my prices for this because it's like you can see how intensive this is. And I'm doing this by rote after like 20 years of practice and training, real experience in the field, doing repairs for real people, working on my own guitars. I've done a lot. I don't even know. And the amount of hours I've spent, thousands and thousands. I mean, you know, I don't know how many hours are in a lifetime, but I mean, I guarantee you, on the last 20 years, the amount of time I've spent mastering fretwork and obsessing about it, fretting over frets, is it is astronomical. I mean, it is thousands piled upon thousands of hours just for this alone. You know, let alone all the stuff I've come up with, like that nut slot spacing technique and the setup technique with the capo at the first fret, and then set the 12th fret action so it's 10 thousandths lower than you want the open 12th fret action. Nobody's thought of that, you know, and I only thought of that, I think, like last year, kind of occurred to me. So, and I'm really proud of that. And that the fruits of that tree that I planted 20 years ago, I mean, really Steve did. I mean, he, you know, working with Steve was just life-changing. I have no idea. I wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for him. And he taught me how to think, you know, so even though the methods that I use now are, I would say, radically different from the way he does things, and radically different from the way that I learned, it's still, he taught me without, I never heard the term lateral thinking before until a commenter said that on one of my videos. He goes, oh, this is the kind of lateral thinking that built empires. I'm like, wow, thanks. Yeah, but Steve taught me that. He's the one that taught me how to think outside the box, and he said he imparted a lot of that to me from Dan Armstrong, who he worked for starting in 1968. You know, and he said Dan was just incredible. So I think he got it from him, you know, and he passed the torch down to me, and now here I am, alone in my workshop, alone but not alone, because I'm filming a video that I'm going to be sharing with all you guys, and I hope to impart my own personality and knowledge and experience, you know, the same way Steve did for me. I'm just doing it on a mass scale here, because I'm like a recluse. Yeah, actually, don't say that, you know. Do you want to be a recluse? I do not want to be. Or if I did want to be, I'd at least want to... I think having a wife would be good. That's one of the things I've been hung up on lately, right? It gets... trying to identify with more positive things and identify what I want. You see a lot of things. I see that on Instagram. A lot of these guitar techs, you know, have wives, kids, you know, families. It makes things, in my view, and you know, I think a lot more fulfilling. So one of the things I've been getting into lately is all this spiritual stuff, like claiming it within yourself and stop replaying the stories, you know. Like I've been thinking, oh, it was like, you know, earlier. It's like, oh, this girl I'm really interested in, and like, yeah, you know, like fantasies about me having like a family and a wife, and you know, because you get into these negative loops, and it's like, oh, I'm gonna be alone forever. You know, you tell yourself these things, and you base your identity on this negative stuff, and then you're surprised that that's what your life looks like. It's like, okay, well, stop telling yourself the stories. I'm gonna be X years old, and I'm still alone, and this, and everyone has this, and I don't. Well, don't keep telling yourself that, and then be surprised. Or it's like, don't be surprised that that's what your life looks like. So anyway. Oh, we're going deep today, guys. We're going deep today on Guitar MD. This is like the Twilight Zone episode of Guitar MD. This is what happens. At least to me, crowning and polishing frets, it's like a religious experience or something, you know. And I don't mean that. I don't mean it in a good way. I'm just joking. But yeah, you can go deep, because it's like, what else are you going to focus on? What else are you going to focus on? It's like you got to laser focus, or even... I'm not laser focused. I'm like by rote focused. My body's on autopilot. It's kind of like when you drive a car. You end up at your destination. You don't even remember how you got there. It's like you're just kind of spacing out. It's like you're paying attention, but you're not. You know, I don't mean you're on your phone and being an idiot, like driving. You know, I mean... you know, putting other people at risk. I mean, like, no, your phone is down, you're driving, you're paying attention, but it's like you're just kind of off in your own thing. And by the time you get to the destination, you're like, how did I get there? Where did the trip go? I was just driving. So, this is very much the same. Again, what did we cover? We touched a little bit on identity, right? Taking skills for granted, how to deal with monotony without it overwhelming you, which the way you do that is by realizing that every moment is precious, every moment is priceless, even the boring ones, because it's never going to happen again. I get into thought experiments like that, right? Like I could be sitting here at 80 years old and thinking about this, or even watching this video on my own YouTube channel and being like, man, I wish if I'd give anything to be able to go back and be 36 years old again, you know, and just be sitting here crowning, polishing frets, and just being young again. And you see what I'm saying? I told you we're going deep today, guys. I told you we're going deep. I hope somebody appreciates this. It probably sound like I'm fucking insane. How does this guy keep talking? Well, spending a lot of time. Did I mention not having a wife or kids? I'm not dating. I haven't been on a date in like 8 years. You know, it's been a long time. Been a long time since I rock and roll. I sang that bad on purpose, by the way. When you sing poorly on purpose, it kind of blunts. Like if you really try, and then you embarrass yourself, then it's like bad. And you're like, oh. But if you fuck up on purpose and make a joke out of it, then it's like, oh, they're supposed to laugh. Remember this time I was singing Purple Haze? I wanted to kind of be like, oh, I think I can sing it, and I was singing it in falsetto, and I didn't know how to sing at all. You can imagine I'm singing it like an octave higher than... So my friends at the time, you know, they were standing outside of my bedroom door. I made them stand outside while I closed the door and sang to it, and they just laughed their asses off at me. That was awful. It's kind of funny. You know, everything can be funny in hindsight. I mean, maybe not everything. Well, no, maybe everything. I do have a dark sense of humor. You kind of have to when you've been through some trauma. And I don't mean that as trauma. That's not what I'm talking about. I've been through some really serious stuff. That's not the worst thing that ever happened. Well, one time I was singing and people laughed at me. That could be, to be fair, for some people, that is really bad. It can be traumatic. It can be. I'm just saying there's stuff that happened to me that I'm not going to mention in a YouTube video. I'm not talking about that, because then we will have to make this 18 and up only. I have been through some serious shit that is not good. The no bueno. But here I am, on camera, crowning frets, having the time of my life. And I joke with one of my friends. I mentioned call her birthday twin. You know, but I do that with her a lot, though. Another day in paradise. And again, back when I was working a retail job in a warehouse back in 2010, I worked with a guy, and he would always say that every day he'd come in, and his name was Frank. Another day in paradise. He goes, you know, maybe if we keep saying it enough, we'll start believing it. He kind of have this look in his eye, and he'd look and go, yeah, it is another day in paradise. Yeah, it is paradise. You know, it's like he's fucking crazy. You know, it's like he was so funny. He's a really good guy. Your coworkers can get you through a whole lot. I guess when you're doing this kind of work, you're your own coworker. So you gotta keep yourself entertained. Just like imagine this guitar was like a puppet, and you stick your hand up there. Hello, I'm getting my frets crowned. Hello, I'm slow up there. You're going a little fast. Oh my God. I'm good at entertaining myself. I don't know if I'm good at entertaining other people. I try. I'm literally just going to put this all up unedited. Screw it. You're going to see the whole thing. I got to course correct here. What did I say about... Oh yeah, family. I think family is really important. So that's one thing I've been doing lately, you know? All this manifestation. So it's about being aware of something without proof or evidence. Like being aware of it as a fact. You know, I've been seeing myself in a relationship of my dreams. You know, business going really well. Finally raising my prices, you know, making a real income instead of what I've been doing, right? You start seeing yourself as the version of you that has the things that you want, and seeing that as the real reality. It doesn't mean sitting on your ass and not doing anything. It means everything comes from your identity, who you're identifying as. Right, what you are accepting to be true about yourself and what is possible for you, who you are, what you have. So yeah, it's funny, you know. I'm gonna sound totally insane here, but it's like as I am crowning these frets and polishing, it's like, oh, you know what would feel great? That version of me that was in the relationship I've always wanted, right? Let's say I've got a wife and kids. Who knows, whether it's like my own biological kids, stepkids, whatever. And, you know, imagining, oh, when I get this done, it's like, yeah, I'm going to go out with my wife and kids, we're going to go grab something to eat, maybe go to the park. I'm like, oh, I got to finish up this job. And it is amazing the shift that you can feel when you actually, your brain doesn't know the difference until you snitch on yourself. You know, oh, it's make-believe, but I'm just imagining, this is not real. But when you really tap into it, it actually feels really good. I'm like, wow, I actually did get pumped up. I'm like, oh, we're going to go out to the Chinese buffet after. Grab my wife and kids, we're going to go out, have a great time. You know, and really lock it. I might take myself out after, seriously. I might go by myself. And imagine I am there, and again, this doesn't mean you're, going to be like a, doing this in the corner of a room. You keep your eyes peeled for opportunities, you meet someone, you develop feelings, whatever, you just go for it and see what happens. It's about taking natural action, action that is aligned with who you identify as. Right, which is actually what we're always doing. Whether we're aware of it or not, we are always acting in alignment with who we identify as. Just for most of us, like I had been for most of my life, maybe up until 35 years old or so, I was identifying with the worst stuff, bad self-concept, my identity was just, I'm not good enough, I'm always a third wheel, I'm always left out, making money is really hard, I don't have any self-esteem, I can't stand up for myself, I can't charge enough, I lowball things, I'm always putting myself last in my own life, and guess what? When other people treat you the way that you see yourself, yeah, it's like then they treat you as a third wheel, then they're not prioritizing you. And I'm telling you, it is insane. You start identifying differently internally, and the behavior you start seeing from people out there starts changing. Who would have thought? I'm telling you, it's nuts. And I will tell you a really good story with some customers, actually. I had 3 jobs in a row get screwed up. This is a good one. I'm at 50 minutes. Let me start this one after. I just wanted to lock that recording in, because like I said, big single files are more difficult. Even to just load into the editor, it can cause things to crash, at least with Shotcut, which is what I'm using. But anyway, that story, right? So I'm going to tell you 3 customers in a row. I screwed up on a pick guard someone had ordered. I screwed up on a refret, and I forget what the other thing was. But it was 3 in a row, and people were not happy. I think it was a couple of years ago, and they were not happy about it. You know what? And I started spiraling and going back into the old identity of I'm not good enough, I'm like an imposter, I don't have the skills, and I can't even, this gets tied into the lowballing prices. You don't value yourself, you don't trust yourself, you don't know your worth. It's like a preemptive, oh, well, if I lowball it to bargain basement prices, then I won't feel bad. If somebody's unhappy with something. It's not the way to do it. It's not the way to go about running a business. But like I said, your identity is not only what you experience internally, but what you end up experiencing externally as well. So I started telling myself, I started falling off the cliff and panicking. And I was like, you know what? No. You know who I am and what I have? I'm the best at what I do. I have the best customers, and I only work with the best customers. They make my life easier. I love talking to them. I love interacting with them. And any problems that come up, I'm always able to resolve them. And the customers I have are always pleasant to deal with. And the key is you repeat this to yourself and you claim who you are and what you have, regardless of what you see. You could be on the phone, somebody says, fuck you, Matt, you fucking piece of shit. You know what I hear? You stay the same. No, I only deal with the best people. Any conflicts or anything that come up are always easily resolved. And I kid you not, that is what ended up happening. So I had 3 jobs in a row people were unhappy with. And I started to freak out and was like, you know what? No. So this is what I told the guy. I said, man, I'm sorry about that. I said, well, I hold myself to a very high standard, and you know what I said? I said, I'm not going to charge for this. Because I knew he wasn't taking advantage of me, because I know, like, okay, I could see why he was upset about this detail that I had missed. Like, you know what? I said, I expect this to be perfect when people pay me for my work, so I'm not going to charge you. I said, I can do another one. I was going to refund you your money. And it happened like 2 days later. He said he was looking at it, and he's like, it's not that bad, and it actually does fit perfectly. I placed it on the guitar wrong. He was like, oh, my bad, because it's actually, I was looking at it, and he goes, it actually is okay, this actually looks, I'm going to be able to work with this, you did great work on this. And he ended up commissioning me to make another pickguard. So, actually another several. And that went really well. But then additionally, to stick to my word on my identity, and it's like, oh, I'm the best at what I do, and I have the best customers, and I love dealing with them, I made him another one for free that was a corrected, like, perfect version of the one I had initially screwed up some months before. And he was really grateful for that. Long story short, it was a mirror pickguard. It was acrylic. I had never really worked with acrylic before, and I didn't know the right bits to use for the job. And it turns out, for the blade switch slot on a Strat, the correct bit to use is a spiral O-flute upcut bit. And I did not know that at the time, but I learned through doing a bunch of research and experimenting. So I got these bits, and I cut him a brand new pickguard, and the blade switch slot came out perfect with that spiral O-flute upcut bit. And he was really thrilled with it. He was real happy with it. And then the other customer, I ended up working it out. It was basically, I didn't edge the frets adequately on this refret I did. Everything else came out perfect. But I had dropped the ball a little bit on the fret edging, so I gave him a significant refund on it. This was a stainless refret, and I probably had hours and hours and hours into this thing, but I gave him a huge amount of money off, but I walked him through it. I said, okay, here's the tools. If you want to edge the frets yourself, I said, this is what you get. Part of that, too, is my fault that was all my fault that I didn't get it done perfectly. But what I mean is, like, I am used to, on my guitar, like, I can deal with a little edginess on the frets, like a little bit. So to me, it felt fine. But I was like, no, you're doing this for customers. It's got to be, like, immaculate. So anyway, but I guided him through everything. I was very patient with him, and I owed it to him. He paid me for a service, so for my integrity, it's like, okay, I'm going to walk him through the tools he needs, get, like, this fret beveling file, get this. I recorded some private videos for him on, techniques for burnishing the fret ends, like what tool to use, how to do it. And he ended up successfully doing it, and he was very happy with it. And the good thing is the rest of the refret came out awesome. I mean, I was meticulous, just like I am with this one. Screaming low action. Played perfectly, you could bend the strings, it's not choking out anywhere. And stainless frets, so they'll last forever. But and I just dropped the ball a little bit on the fret edging. But it all worked out. And again, this came from telling myself, I'm like, no, I'm the best at what I do. I only have the best customers. And I said, if a problem ever does arise, I said, no, I always am able to work it out with people. You know, solve the problem, have the customer happy anyway, regardless, in every situation. And that has been true ever since I started claiming that. That is what gets reflected back to me. So, total life lessons here, you know, with guitar work. Like, you will be confronted with the old identity, you know, and any insecurities you have, the way you deal with people, because your identity handles how you do everything. So it's going to show up everywhere in your life. Relationships, business, friends, everything. How you eat, how you exercise, if you exercise at all. The kind of stuff you watch, you know, the stuff you think about all day. The movies you're playing in your head. What you're saying, what the voice in your head is saying about you all day, right? So it's a beautiful thing. You know, you go from like how I was. It's like you'd be very lonely, isolated, low self-esteem. You know, you're not good enough. You don't deserve this. You don't deserve that. So you know what? It's like, no, I'm the best at what I do. People respect me. And also, you can even start claiming things. It's like with relationships. So like with women, for example. It's like, you know what? No, I have amazing relationships with women. I have deep emotional connections, like commitment, loyalty. I only experience the best. It's just like with customers, right? And you can claim that regardless of what, like I said, you have been in a date in 8 years? Well, okay. And the funny thing is, I reconnected with this girl I've gotten very close to after I started affirming all these things within myself without having dated in over 8 years. You know, I was like, you know what, I'm good. I have this unconditional love within myself. Oh, when it comes to women, it's like, oh, it's easy to talk to them. I love women. We get along super well. I always connect. I don't expect anything from them. It's just, it's whatever happens, happens. But I know if I do date and I do make a romantic connection, it's always amazing. Like super deep emotional connection. This, that. And guess what comes to pass? It is what you're claiming within yourself. So I know this sounds nuts. But man. Hey, you guys wanted an insight. You want to see what real fret crowning is? This is real fret crowning. Alright? You're going to be thinking of all kinds of stuff. Now, I don't know what other people think about. But the stuff I'm talking about, this is where my mind goes. Man, I'm like sweating like a pig. You know, pigs actually don't sweat. That's why they roll around in the mud, because they can't sweat. And I'm sweating like a pig. I mean, sweating like an animal that sweats a lot, I guess. Hey guys, we're closing it. What did I say about driving? What did I say about driving a car? And it's like you don't even realize you're... Hey, we're almost at the destination here. I don't even remember. How did we get here? Right, because now I got 3 frets left. Alright. Oh, almost bent my fret guard there. Let's keep going. I definitely need a shower after this. I think we need to bang out some cardio. I know this sounds insane. Bang out some cardio and take a girlfriend, wife, kids, whatever. All going out after. I'm telling you, you start talking to yourself like this. I'm telling you, I promise you, you're going to start seeing things reflect outside of yourself that are insane. You'd never expect. You start telling yourself who you are and what you have. That's like with this stuff. I get, negative comments on YouTube, whatever. It used to really throw me off bad. Any of you who follow my channel, you probably see me go off on people a number of times. But over time, like, you know what? No, I am the best at what I do. I'm the best to ever do it. I make the best videos. And this is not an egotistical thing, right? Like, I would recommend anybody who's making a guitar tech channel, and you're going to make your own videos and teach people how to do this stuff and show what you know, including the people leaving negative comments on my video, you are also the best to ever do it. Yeah, you're the best to ever do it. So people leaving nasty comments and all this stuff, and oh, he doesn't know what he's... Yeah, they're the best to ever do it. You know, it's your reality. It's your reality. So I'm staying in my lane here. I'm like, look, I just do what I do, put my videos out. So you see, it's not an egotistical thing. Oh, I'm going to get into it. We got 2 frets left. I'm going to tell you my idea, my brainstorm I had the other day about Narcissus, right? The Greek myth. All right, so if you think of reality as a projector screen, right, what we see around us is a projector screen, and our consciousness is the projector, it's the source. So the outer world is the effect, and the inner world is the cause. So if you actually look at the grievous error that Narcissus made, it wasn't loving himself, it wasn't being in love with himself, he was in love with his reflection. He was attaching himself to the projector. Oh, sorry, the projector screen instead of the projector. So I know this is totally out there, but it really hit me the other day, because it's like, yes, attaching yourself, what is it, the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, right? Attachment to matter gives rise to incomparable suffering. So, you know, same thing in like Buddhism, they talk about this, but it's not that the desires are bad. The desires are good. That's your life source, the stuff that gets you excited. It's like I'm thinking, oh yeah, I do. I would love to have a family of my own. You know, wife and kids waiting on me to finish up here so we can go out to eat, maybe go to the park. That'd be awesome. That is awesome. I have that right now. I can experience that internally right now. Because you think about it, there's no proof or evidence that I don't have that in this moment. I could be, if I had a wife and I had kids and I had all this wonderful things and connection and, you know, I would still be doing this stuff. I would still be making YouTube videos. So I could have that, and it would be no different. They could be out in another room. And I would still be here, sequestered here, making these videos because I love doing this. So I would be doing this anyway. So what is the difference, right? If I actually had that, if that was the version of me that had that, what's the difference? I'm here, I'm doing one thing I love right now, and then when I'm done, I'm going to do something else I love. Spending time with my own family. Alright, so you see what I'm saying? You got to be a little... You'd be a musician or a guitar tech, you got to be kind of out there anyway. But you know, it's like if 3D reality is going to be what it is anyway, what benefit are you going to get from complaining and then affirming, reaffirming? You're looking at the projector screen and you're like, this movie sucks, I hate this movie, and you spend the rest of your life hating that movie. Why don't you go into the projector, like go on your computer that's projecting the movie, and go pick a different movie? No, I'm going to pick the movie where I'm doing what I love. I'm getting paid really well for doing what I love. I have like the best family of all time, the best friends of all time. My days are just full of just amazing everything. It's everything I ever could have wanted. And living your life that way right now. Because I'm telling you, man, I'm done with it. I'm done fucking, you know, the negative, like, oh, this sucks and I'm alone. And but no, that's not me anymore. I'm like, no, I have it. I only experience the best professionally, in love, in friendships. I know this might sound wackadoo, but I'm telling you, you'll feel the internal shift, and don't be surprised when you start seeing things show up around you that prove that to you, that who you are choosing to be and what you are claiming you have before it's here. Don't be surprised when it starts showing up. It's a beautiful thing. You know, just like those customers. 3 in a row. And guess what happened is exactly what I said happened. I only deal with the best customer. I only have the best. They're polite, they're respectful, they're awesome, they're curious, they're always willing to work with me. Any problem that comes up, we can resolve it, we can fix it, and they're going to walk away happy no matter what. And that's what happens every single time. Right? Because it changes your behavior without you even knowing it too. Because if you're assuming that's what it is, you're talking to this person on the phone, And you're thinking of them, they're the best. This is the best customer I've ever had. They're always the best. Now, what do you think that's going to do to how you react to whatever it is they're saying? Or if they're unhappy about something, or they have questions, or this, you know? What do you think that's going to do? How would you feel if you were talking to someone and then privately in their head you knew that they were thinking really highly of you? Like, you're the best. Like, wow, this person's awesome. I have so much respect for this person. I love dealing with them. I love talking to them. People pick up on that. You know, so as we are on the last fret here for the crowning, keep that in mind. You know, this is the whole inner kingdom. Seek first the kingdom, and all of these things will be added onto you. But I'm alone. I don't have a family. I don't have a wife. I don't even have a girlfriend. I haven't been on a date and whatever. I don't have this. I don't have that. What are we going to do? Seek first the kingdom, and all these things will be added onto you. Right? Don't worry about it. Your only job is to know what you want and to give it to yourself within yourself and see yourself as that version of yourself that already has these things. And then just let the movie play. It will materialize. Right? I'm telling you guys, we're on the last fret here. What did I say about the car ride and how did we get here? So, 17 minutes for this new clip. Yeah. This is wild stuff, isn't it? But if you want to see the process for what fretwork actually looks like, this is it. This might be the only video on the whole internet that shows you what it's really like. Which is just, you're going to be, here we go. Let there be light, right? You're going to be talking to yourself. At least that's what I do. Maybe some people go monk mode, vow of silence mode, and they just nose to the grindstone, get through it. I'm here working by myself. I'm talking to myself the whole time, just about, or I'm thinking it internally. And I try to make it good things. Okay, so now, steel wool time. You want to go horizontally across the fret, not vertically. There's a nice final polish out. Yeah. Now I've already gone over these frets, or the fretboard I should say, because before I leveled them I polished it out. I kind of was debating about doing it or not, you know, the fret leveling. I was like, yeah, it kind of needs it. Didn't need much though. Now, we did that whole buffing out with steel wool. I'm just going to hit it little fractionated coconut oil. Work that in, and this is a light coat. Quite light. I already conditioned this board before. And by the way, we can take the leather and the mylar film off now that we're done with that. Make sure no steel wool gets on those pickups. If it does, it's not the end of the world. You just take a piece of tape. You can get those, any little metal filings that got on, you can take them off. Usually I'll tape over the pickups with masking tape. Kind of skipped that here though. But anyway, coconut oil. I should say fractionated coconut oil. And I just did a light coat. I'm using the dry side of a paper towel to buff that off. And now I'm going to get a coat of Renaissance wax. Okay, Renaissance wax. We're going to go over the whole thing. Right. Okay. Alright, yeah, see now we're back in work mode. So I spaced out that whole time and we went to the ends of the universe while I was crowning the frets. I really want to wash my hands off. I'm going to leave this fret dust on here, loaded with nickel and some other toxins. Heavy metals are not good. So I'll be right back. I'm just going to go wash my blackened, fret dusted fingertips off. Alright, I have returned. This is going to be one hell of a video. A lot of the ones I had up lately have gotten so few views. It's like, what difference does it make? Just put it out there. Be the fret crowning video of eternity, I guess, that anybody's ever posted. It's like, hey, you want to see what it's really about? It's not about crowning the frets. It's about the places your mind goes when you're crowning and polishing the frets. That's the real. Now, I guess I string this up and test it out, but I have new strings for this. I might cut the video soon. Or just, cut to a demo. Because I got to put a new set of strings on here. It definitely needs it. I want to make sure everything's rocking and rolling before I get to that, so. Get the strobe tuner in. Yeah, let's say not the best. This is the most honest fret crowning video that's ever been made. Let's go with that. Okay, let's see. Alright. Oh. We're close enough to... Now, it's a little out of tune, but now is where we double check all the specs. We got the crowning and polishing done and all that. Alright, now is where we double check everything. So about 1,000th of relief, good. I get out my digital gauge and check the open 12th fret action. Feels a little high. Probably because we just took the frets down a bunch. It's not that high, but it's a little high. No, 35 on D. No, 29, 31, 31. No, we're pretty close to spec here. And by close to spec, I mean almost bang on. It's so fun. I'm used to the action being so ridiculously low. I think on my Strat now, I've actually had it at like maybe 20 to 25 thousandths at the open at the 12th fret. Yeah, this is all specking out where I want it. About 12 thousandths plain strings and like 18, 19, 20 D, A, and E. So that's right in. That is right in where I want it. Yeah, this is up, basically this is up to spec. It's a little high. Yeah, these are pretty slick guitars, you know. These 24-inch scale Supersonics. Yeah, maybe I'll do a quick demo of it through the DAW, but yeah, now it's pretty much ready to string up. Yeah, new strings. I will set the intonation. We got to get the intonation dialed in. I got another video on that. It's all in that Pink Squire video. that Mustang. I said Masterclass. Yeah, this needs some major intonation. New strings and intonation. I think I got a pack down here. Diodario 9-42s. Alright. I'm going to have to slap those on. Probably am going to take a little bit of a break here. Okay, let me put my... And you definitely want to put things away. Trust me. You will lose them if you don't. Been doing this a long enough time to know that much. Okay, so fret eraser's back. Let's put the crowning files back. Yeah. So, because I have that other video done, maybe I'll just do an outro, you know, playing this thing. But, you know, all the specs here, it's like, you know, neck is straight. We got the first fret action dialed in. Oh, sorry, neck straight, capo on the first. Set the 12th fret action to 10 thousandths lower. Then you want your final open action. Take the capo off, dial in the first fret to about 12 thousandths plain, 18 thousandths wound, like that neighborhood, you know, give or take a couple thousandths. And you'll end up, and then you're ready to level, right, under string tension. It just plays like a dream. I mean, I've done this so many times now. I mean, you can get guitar. This is a really nice guitar. But I'm telling you, you can get guitars that, like that Squier Mustang, you know, maybe $150 with a case, right? And a little practice amp, right? Like guitar, case, and amp, like $150. You get a guitar like that playing amazingly well. That thing was ripping when I was done with it. And I did exactly what I did here. So when you understand how guitars work, they're all the same. It's all the same. Approach it the same way every time. You know, now some of them, the truss rods don't work so great on. Some of them have warped fingerboards. You might need to refret them to get them in this kind of playing condition, but barring all that, you know, you got your contact points, not saddle, scale length, you know, fret heights. You got the straight neck 3-point setup, relief, 12th fret action with a capo on the first. Take the capo off, set the first fret action, standardized relief. I like to standardize the action as well, and then standardize first fret action. I should say standardized open 12th, like to 30 thou on GBE, and like 35, 40, 46, 50 on the low E. I do it the same way every time. Again, 0 relief to 2 thousandths tops, 30 thou, GBE, 35, 40, 46, 50 low E, and then first fret. Yeah, about 12 thousandths plain, 16, 18 thou, wound strings with a little more room on the low E. Yeah, this is still a little out of tune. But yeah, I wanted to show you what the actual process looks like, so in case anybody's wondering. Oh. Yeah, time-consuming and labor-intensive. So anyway, I might slap some new strings on here, get the intonation set. I already got videos on that, so I might end this with a demo after however many hours it's been. So okay, till the next video. I might end on a demo here, so I might give you a little treat after this outro. But as always, stay tuned for more guitar everything. Right here on Guitar. I don't know what I was thinking with that. Right here on Guitar MD. All right.